It all began with Bruce Lee. Bruce came to New York when I fought for the world title.
Well, I think the main reason, Bruce was really ahead of his time.
After years of silence, Chuck Norris has finally spoken out about his legendary partner, Bruce Lee. But what he said has left fans of both Lee and himself furious and shocked. Was it a heartfelt tribute to Lee's unmatched skill? Or did Norris cross the line by saying something he wasn't supposed to say? Join us as we reveal this explosive revelation that is rocking the martial arts world. What Chuck Norris had to say about Bruce Lee. When Norris spoke about his time together with Bruce Lee, he had nothing but admiration to say. Reflecting on The Way of the Dragon, he said, "I enjoyed working with Bruce Lee in the film. It was a lot of fun. The fight scene is considered the classic martial arts fight scene of all time, so it's nice to be involved in a fight scene that everyone loves." That legendary Coliseum battle is still regarded as one of the finest fight sequences ever filmed. But what makes it even more impressive is the way it was shot. The production team did not have the necessary permits to film at the historic location, so Lee had to take matters into his own hands. By paying officials, he was able to buy the crew just 1 hour to film the dramatic combat. Every move and stroke had to be precise. There were no second chances. The result was a cinematic masterpiece that remains the gold standard for martial arts choreography. Even decades later, no other combat scene has matched its ferocity, authenticity, and raw power. But there's one secret aspect from that classic fight sequence that went unnoticed for years until Chuck Norris disclosed it in an interview. "There's a scene where I throw Bruce to the ground, and he grabs the hair on my chest and pulls it out," Norris recounted. "I get a letter from a man who says he and his son have seen The Way of the Dragon 26 times. He asks, 'Did Bruce really pull the hair out of your chest? If he did, you're really a stud.'" That seemingly insignificant act, Bruce Lee tugging a tuft of Chuck Norris's chest hair, became one of many raw, uncensored elements that cemented their Coliseum encounter as legendary. Unlike Hollywood's carefully scripted brawls, Lee's concept was to keep it authentic, combining cinematic spectacle with practical combat methods. Every movement served a purpose, and every hit carried weight. This commitment to authenticity distinguished The Way of the Dragon from other martial arts films. Norris has never held back while talking about Lee. He has often described him as a difficult opponent, praising his sculpted figure, razor-sharp technique, and extraordinary ability to combine confidence with wit, sometimes in ways that astounded others. Their combat was more than simply fists and kicks. It was also about presence, control, and mastery. But the manner their battle was captured was genuinely unique. They produced history in a restricted portion of Rome's Coliseum, watched over by bribed guards. What was originally intended for Asian viewers became a global phenomenon, thanks primarily to that spectacular sequence. The battle was shot in long, uninterrupted takes, allowing fans to soak in every move, counter, and breath. It wasn't simply any fight, it was pure, poetic combat. The kind of moment that could only happen when two true masters pushed one another to their limits, defying the laws of both martial arts and filmmaking to make history. But was Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee's fight really just for show? Let's find out. Unseen Rivalry, the real story behind Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris' iconic showdown. Few rivalries in martial arts cinema have been as legendary as that of Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. Looking back at their careers, both men embodied sheer determination and mastery of their craft. Bruce Lee was a natural in front of the camera, rising to global fame just as the martial arts craze took the world by storm. Norris, on the other hand, had a more gradual journey to stardom. But his career took a major turn after his unforgettable collaboration with Lee in The Way of the Dragon. In the film, Lee portrayed Tang Lung, a highly skilled martial artist sent to defend his family's restaurant from local criminals. Norris took on the role of Colt, a fearsome Western fighter recruited as the villain's last hope against Lee's seemingly unstoppable force. Their legendary showdown at the Roman Coliseum remains one of the most iconic fight scenes in cinematic history, a masterpiece of precision, speed, and raw intensity. For martial arts fans, this was more than just an on-screen battle. It was a monumental clash between two real-life masters. At the time, Norris was making his film debut, and seeing a Westerner in such a dominant martial arts role was a thrilling surprise for audiences. Though Bruce Lee's character ultimately won the fight, Norris left a lasting impression. The Way of the Dragon became an instant hit, smashing box office records. At its release, it was the highest-grossing film in Hong Kong's history, until another Bruce Lee film surpassed it the following year. The film was produced on a modest budget of $145,000, yet grossed over $60 million worldwide, a staggering figure that, when adjusted for inflation, soars past $700 million today. In a rare resurfaced interview, Chuck Norris discussed the film's impact. That movie cost $145,000 to produce, he said. It has made more than $60 million worldwide. Isn't it amazing? His statements emphasized both the film's monetary success and its cultural relevance. The fight sequence itself had no gimmicks, flying wires, or spectacular effects. Simply two masters of their profession locked in a straight test of skill, strength, and strategy. The authenticity of their combat astounded audiences, and many believed Norris and Lee had a real-life feud off-screen. The way they fought, the accuracy and raw force behind each action, felt too real to be a scripted picture. Fans questioned for years whether their legendary match was driven by personal rivalry, but in actuality, Lee and Norris were friends and training partners. Despite frequent claims of a real rivalry, the two martial artists had developed a solid mutual regard over years of training together. They sparred on several occasions, with Norris frequently admiring Lee's unrivaled speed and accuracy. Lee, on the other hand, never lacked confidence. In one interview, he famously stated that fighting renowned martial artists such as Joe Louis, Mike Stone, and Chuck Norris was like fighting children. So, how did their paths lead to this legendary showdown? Stay tuned to find out. The martial arts journeys of Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris are undoubtedly the most well-known martial artists in history, both making an unmistakable stamp on the martial arts world. Their influence extended across boundaries, motivating many people to pursue their passion for martial arts. Given their mutual effect, it's understandable that similarities between the two icons are frequently drawn, especially because they trained together at one point. This has inspired numerous debates. What if Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris had fought in their prime? Who would have won, and why? Both men were born in 1940 and, for a period, had similar career paths. However, Lee's unexpected death in 1973 cut his trip short, leaving a lasting legacy. Lee was more than just an action star. He transformed martial arts by popularizing high-octane, action-packed combat. Lee, who ventured to combine several martial arts disciplines, motivated practitioners to break free from convention and experiment with new techniques. This spawned the development of Jeet Kune Do, a revolutionary martial arts philosophy centered on adaptation, efficiency, and effectiveness. Lee's approach to martial arts was more than just physical. It was mental. His reflexes were lightning quick, and his adaptability made him one of the most formidable fighters of his era. However, before becoming a global celebrity, Lee refined his talents in many combat arts. His first public battle occurred while he was a teenager in Hong Kong, competing in a Western-style boxing event. To prepare, he attended boxing training and improved his skills for the competition. In his debut year, Lee stunned everyone by defeating the defending champion, Gary Elms, in the final. Lee's unique combination of Wing Chun Kung Fu and boxing methods, however, elevated the fight to new heights. Under the guidance of Wong Shan Leong and the legendary Ip Man, Lee adapted Wing Chun tactics to Western boxing regulations. His extraordinary punching speed and ability to hit unique strikes threw Elms off guard. Despite the grueling bout, Elms was struck down so frequently that Lee won by decision. This victory marked the first and last time Lee participated in a competitive event. Why he never fought again remains a mystery, but outside the ring, Lee was no stranger to real combat. Growing up in Hong Kong, Bruce Lee was frequently involved in street battles, which drove his ambition to pursue martial arts. Lee began official training at the age of 15 under Wing Chun teachers who helped him refine his talents for self-improvement rather than competitiveness. However, Lee was immediately attracted toward real-life, no-rules combat, frequently finding himself more at ease in unpredictable, high-stakes street battles than in controlled competitions. This viewpoint would later define the ideology of Jeet Kune Do, a martial arts style that emphasized flexibility and adaptability, discarding rigid forms in favor of practical, effective techniques. In contrast, Chuck Norris chose a different path. After high school, he joined the Air Force and was stationed in Korea, where he met Tang Soo Do. When Norris returned to the United States, he worked at Northrop Aviation and taught karate courses on the side. Within 2 years, he began teaching full-time and eventually opened many martial arts schools to share his knowledge and experience. Both Lee and Norris were outstanding warriors who had different approaches to martial arts. Lee emphasized fluidity, spontaneity, and adaptation, but Norris's strict training led to a lengthy and successful professional career. So, in a combat between the two at their peak, who would have had the advantage? Given Norris's long competitive career, many think that he should have won. He lost his first 3 tournaments, but never lost again. By 1966, he had won championships like the National Karate Championship and the All-Star Championship. The next year, he won both the World Middleweight and All-American Karate Championships. In 1968, he won the World Professional Middleweight Karate title, and when he resigned in 1974, he was the undisputed professional full-contact middleweight champion. Norris's broad martial arts background includes black belts in karate, judo, and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, making him a strong all-around fighter. Norris also helped popularize full-contact karate in the United States. His influence in martial arts grew beyond the ring, leading to a lucrative career in action films. After collaborating with Bruce Lee on The Way of the Dragon, Norris was encouraged to launch his own action film career, which would define the 1980s and cement his place in martial arts history. While some think that Chuck Norris would have won, others believe Bruce Lee's quickness and flexibility would have given him an advantage in a fight. However, as with any sport, speed alone does not determine the outcome. The quickest sprinter is not always the best athlete, and in combat sports such as MMA, UFC, and PFL, the strongest or fastest fighter does not always win. Consider Chuck Norris's fights with Joe Louis, widely regarded as one of the finest karate fighters in history. They fought 4 times, with Norris losing only once. These battles, which were contested under competition rules rather than the no-holds-barred manner of the UFC, demonstrated Norris's technical talent, strategy, and flexibility. In today's mainstream culture, Bruce Lee is often considered a mythological person with near superhuman skills, but Chuck Norris is still revered in martial arts circles, albeit his pop culture image has changed into that of a meme, with overblown tales turning him into a satirical figure. Ironically, while Norris had a considerably longer competitive fighting record, Lee became the global emblem of the Kung Fu master. His name became synonymous with martial arts, and his influence reverberates across decades. The question of who would win in a hypothetical Bruce Lee versus Chuck Norris fight remains unanswered. Many believe Lee's speed, which Norris has previously praised, would give him the advantage. Others believe Norris's strength, mixed with his karate expertise, would allow him to defeat the Kung Fu icon. While Lee's character clearly won in The Way of the Dragon, a real-life fight between Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris at their physical prime would have been a closely fought bout. Each fighter possessed a distinct skill set that could offset the other's strengths. Lee's speed, precision, and adaptability versus Norris's strength, karate experience, and technical proficiency. To this day, Chuck Norris remains tight-lipped when asked if they ever fought outside of training and who would have won. And so, the debate continues decades after their iconic on-screen battle, leaving martial arts fans to wonder who truly would have won. Besides being known as an American martial artist and actor, Norris was also regarded as one who was keen on politics and advocacy. How did his political views and advocacy reshape his life? Let's find out. Chuck Norris's political views and advocacy. Chuck Norris is known not only for his martial arts skills and acting career, but also for his outspoken conservative views. A Republican, Norris has made his political stance clear over the years, frequently voicing his support for conservative causes and leaders. He is a columnist for the far-right website WorldNet Daily, where he shares his opinions on various political matters. In a 1984 interview following the release of Missing in Action, Norris expressed his admiration for Ronald Reagan, stating that he was more drawn to the man himself than to the party. He commended Reagan for his strong leadership and candor, adding, "Ronald Reagan says what he thinks. He's not afraid to speak his mind, even if he may be unpopular." Norris praised Reagan's ability to instill a positive, patriotic spirit in the country, and he agreed with Reagan's leadership style. In the mid-1980s, around the time of filming The Delta Force, Norris commented on the global situation, notably the mounting threat of terrorism. He voiced fear that the United States' passive attitude to terrorism will lead to more global instability, stating, "What we're facing here is the fact that our passive approach to terrorism is going to instigate much more terrorism throughout the world." His words mirrored his career-long belief in taking a firm, aggressive position against terrorism. Norris publicly backed Mike Huckabee in the 2008 Republican presidential primaries, although he later voiced support for John McCain in the general election. Norris was especially enthusiastic about McCain's running mate, Sarah Palin. Norris has been vocal on social issues as well. In 2008, he became one of the first public figures in show business to support California's Proposition 8, which aimed to ban same-sex marriage. He criticized activists for not accepting the democratic process and raised concerns about what he perceived as a double standard in public discourse. While Norris's political beliefs have provoked debate at times, his unwavering support for conservative ideas has secured his status as a prominent figure in American politics, as well as in martial arts and entertainment. Chuck Norris has continued to make news for his outspoken and frequently contentious political opinions, particularly on U.S. presidents, social issues, and international affairs. In 2009, Norris expressed support for the birther conspiracy surrounding Barack Obama's birth certificate. Norris voiced concerns about Obama's refusal to release his birth certificate and called on the president to end the conspiracy theories. This position drew significant attention as the birther controversy was a contentious topic in American politics. Norris broadened his political commentary in 2011 by writing a 5-part investigation for WorldNet Daily on what he saw as Sharia law's increasing impact in the United States. His examination of the subject cemented his status as a prominent conservative who publicly criticized what he perceived as cultural and political challenges to American ideals. In 2012, Norris made waves again with an article on Amaland.com where he accused the Obama administration of influencing the Boy Scouts of America to reverse its policy excluding gay youths from joining the organization. He also became involved in the 2012 presidential election, initially recommending Ron Paul, before endorsing Newt Gingrich. When Gingrich suspended his campaign, Norris eventually threw his support behind Mitt Romney, despite previously criticizing Romney for what he saw as political opportunism. On the eve of the election, Norris and his wife Gina recorded a video urging evangelicals to vote and warning that the future of the country was at stake. Norris's political activism continued into later years. He voiced support for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in both the 2013 and 2015 elections, showing his backing for conservative foreign policies. In 2016, Norris initially endorsed Mike Huckabee in the Republican primaries, before later switching his endorsement to Texas Senator Ted Cruz. How did Chuck Norris's admiration for Bruce Lee shape his legacy? Keep watching to find out. Chuck Norris reflects on Bruce Lee's legacy, a master's respect. In a heartfelt letter to Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris shared his deep respect and admiration for the martial arts legend. Norris wanted to make sure Lee understood that he never saw their training sessions as anything less than an honor. Despite any public perceptions or interviews that might suggest otherwise, Norris made it clear that he had always spoken highly of Lee, describing him not merely as a kung fu teacher, but as a true master of martial arts. "My ego is not such that I am ashamed of it. It was a privilege learning from you," Norris wrote, acknowledging that Lee's mastery wasn't confined to just one style of martial art. Lee, according to Norris, was a proficient practitioner across multiple disciplines, which is why he went on to develop Jeet Kune Do, a groundbreaking hybrid martial art that broke from traditional forms and focused on practical, efficient techniques. "I always say you are a master of your own art," Norris continued, further affirming Lee's innovative approach to martial arts. He ended his letter by sending his best wishes for Lee's future, as well as his regards to Lee's wife, Linda, and their children. Today, that letter is in the hands of one of Bruce Lee's most famous students, Dan Inosanto, preserving the profound bond and respect between these two martial arts icons. How did Bruce Lee's journey shape his philosophy? Let's find out. Bruce Lee's journey from student to master, a lesson in adaptability. For years, Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee trained together in the backyard, constantly exchanging ideas and techniques. One day, during a sparring session, Chuck noticed something unusual. Bruce Lee never kicked high. Curious, he asked Lee why, and Lee's response was rooted in his philosophy of martial arts. A martial artist should never kick above the waist. Chuck, always ready to challenge conventional thinking, responded that a true fighter should be prepared to strike anyone, anywhere on the body, at any time. He added that if an opponent leaves their head exposed, you must seize the opportunity. Bruce, ever the student, considered Chuck's point and realized the wisdom behind it. Within 6 months, Bruce Lee perfected the high kick with Chuck's guidance, demonstrating his capacity to adapt and grow. Bruce, however, never considered himself a master. He referred to himself as a student master. In his own words, "I'm not a master. I'm a student master," meaning I have the knowledge of a master and the expertise of a master, but I'm still learning. So I'm a student master. I don't believe in the word master. I consider the master as such when they close the casket. This philosophy reflected Bruce's continuous drive for self-improvement. He was always open to learning, always striving to evolve. It wasn't that Bruce was against learning high kicks. Instead, his philosophy revolved around using only what worked, while discarding what didn't. He rejected rigid patterns in favor of fluidity and practicality, believing that martial arts should not be confined to fixed forms or styles. As he once said, "The other weakness is, when clans are formed, the people of a clan will hold their kind of martial art as the only truth, and do not dare to reform or improve it. Thus, they are confined in their own tiny little world. Their students become machines which imitate martial art forms." Bruce's focus was on developing flow, efficiency, and speed. High kick, while potentially risky and leaving you vulnerable defensively, didn't fit into his fighting style. He favored quick, effective strikes that didn't compromise his center of gravity or balance. However, Bruce was a master of innovation. In the world of movies, where spectacle and adrenaline reigned supreme, the high kick became an iconic component of his fighting technique. While it was not crucial to his battle technique, it was extremely useful in creating intense, visually stunning fight sequences. Chuck Norris, by encouraging Bruce to broaden his skills, assisted Lee in seeing the potential of the high kick, not as a basic feature of his fighting style, but as a useful tool when necessary. Lee did not limit himself to what worked best for him. He was always willing to learn from others, no matter how different their methods or views were. Bruce thought that anything or anyone could spur growth. Even if he didn't completely agree with the technique or philosophy, it could spark an idea that would help him grow. But how did Bruce Lee's philosophy redefine martial arts? Stay tuned to find out. Bruce Lee, the philosopher and martial arts icon. Bruce Lee was a martial artist, actor, filmmaker, and philosopher. Lee founded Jeet Kune Do, a hybrid martial arts philosophy based on his experiences in unarmed confrontation and self-defense, as well as influence from Zen Buddhism and Taoism. Jeet Kune Do marked Lee's departure from conventional martial arts, emphasizing practicality, speed, and efficiency above strict forms. Lee's contributions to martial arts and film were truly amazing. He is widely regarded as the first global Chinese film star to introduce martial arts to the masses with his iconic performances in 5 feature films. His influence helped popularize martial arts films in the 1970s and brought Hong Kong action cinema to a global audience. Lee's on-screen presence, along with his incredible martial arts ability, cemented his status as an enduring figure in both the film and martial arts worlds. Growing up in British Hong Kong, Lee was introduced to the film industry by his father, a well-known actor. Lee began his career in the entertainment industry at a young age, but his passion for martial arts quickly took precedence. Bruce Lee made his American debut as Kato in The Green Hornet. Despite his exposure, Lee's ability to fully express himself and showcase his unique talents was impeded by previous cultural conflicts. In 1971, he made the important choice to return to Hong Kong, where his career took off in dramatic fashion. Lee's first major role was in Lo Wei's The Big Boss, which set off a streak of massively successful films that would alter the martial arts film genre. Lee played Chen Zhen, a famous character, in the 1972 film Fist of Fury. That same year, he created, wrote, and starred in The Way of the Dragon, a film that displayed his diverse abilities as a filmmaker and martial artist. The film's epic battle scene between Lee and Chuck Norris at the Roman Coliseum became one of the most memorable scenes in martial arts film history. Lee's impact grew, culminating in the 1973 U.S.-Hong Kong co-production Enter the Dragon. This film became a global sensation, cementing Lee's reputation as an international celebrity. Lee's films, both from Hong Kong and Hollywood, had extraordinary commercial success, catapulting Hong Kong martial arts cinema into the international spotlight. His unique style of fight choreography, along with realistic, grounded storytelling, ushered forth a new era of martial arts cinema. Lee's groundbreaking work changed the genre, replacing the legendary elements of prior wuxia films with more realistic, brutal action scenes inspired by real-world conflicts. He transformed the traditional martial arts hero from a chivalrous figure to a complex persona that personifies modern masculinity. Lee's life was tragically cut short when he died at the age of 32 in 1973 of brain edema, the cause of which is still unknown. His impact on martial arts, entertainment, and popular culture was massive. Lee's films amassed a huge cult following and continue to inspire new generations of martial artists, filmmakers, and fans across the world. Lee became a legendary figure not only in the Chinese community, where he was hailed for his authentic depiction of Cantonese culture, but also among Asian Americans, who saw him as a daring challenge to Hollywood's racial stereotypes. His influence grew beyond film and martial arts, leaving a lasting legacy in combat sports, including judo, karate, mixed martial arts, and boxing. Furthermore, his effect on popular culture is still significant, inspiring a diverse spectrum of media such as television, comics, animation, and video games. In recognition of his amazing impact, Time magazine named Bruce Lee one of the 100 most important people of the 20th century, cementing his position as one of the most influential figures in martial arts and global pop culture. After all this time, what has Chuck Norris been up to, and what lasting legacy is he leaving by? Keep watching to find out. Chuck Norris, a legacy that lives on. After taking the time to reflect on his friendship with Bruce Lee, Chuck Norris has continued to carve his own path. While he has been relatively silent in recent years, his impact and presence in film and television remain strong. Norris made a notable performance in The Expendables 2 in 2012, when he displayed his action-packed persona among a star-studded cast. In 2020, he resumed his role in the legendary television series Hawaii Five-0, reminding fans of his continuing appeal. In 2019, Norris embarked on a new job on the History Channel, hosting the documentary Chuck Norris's Epic Guide to Military Vehicles, in which he presented his extensive expertise and enthusiasm for military vehicles. But that's not all. Norris is keeping the action alive with 2 upcoming projects. One of these is Agent Recon, a film he is particularly excited about. In a social media post, he shared 2 photos of himself striking similar poses from nearly 40 years apart, giving fans a fun parallel. He teased, "I can't wait for you all to see what's in store in the upcoming film, Agent Recon. Coming soon. God bless, Chuck Norris." In addition to Agent Recon, Norris is also working on a film titled Zombie Plane, where he will play the role of Commander Chuck Norris. Given his legendary rank, it is safe to assume that zombies have no chance against him. As Norris continues to entertain and inspire audiences, his legacy as a martial artist, actor, and pop cultural icon is solidified. From action-packed blockbusters to his ageless wit, there is no shortage of admiration for this living legend. Regarding what Chuck Norris had to say about Bruce Lee, share your thoughts. Do you think it was something for the fans to get furious over? Let us know in the comments section below. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video shown on your screen to catch up on your favorite celebrity stories. See you there.